Well, France has held its first cabinet meeting of the new year, and the first for recently appointed Prime Minister François Bayrou. While no major announcements were made, President Emmanuel Macron, Bayrou, and others in the administration are under pressure after months of heated politics in the country. Bayrou lacks majority support in parliament and remains vulnerable to being ousted if opposition parties should join forces against him, like they did with his predecessor, Michel Barnier. The theme of today's cabinet meeting was reconciliation, action, and stability. We can speak to our reporter now, Claire Paccalin, outside the Élysée Palace. Hello to you, Claire. You just attended the press conference following this first cabinet meeting of 2025. What came out of that?
Well, as you said, Will, we weren't expecting any big announcements and we didn't get any. This was an initial meeting for this new cabinet. They will meet again next week on Wednesday, and we're expecting bigger dossiers to be on the table in next week's meeting. As for today, we heard from Sophie Primas. She's the new government spokeswoman. She did outline some of the big goals that this government faces, reducing the state deficit, which is hovering at around 6% at the moment, rebuilding Mayotte, the French archipelago, which was devastated by a cyclone late last year, reforms to public services, improving schools. How do you do this when you don't have a majority in parliament? Well, François Bayrou, the new prime minister, he would like to build a majority through compromise. Sophie Primas, the government spokeswoman, saying that compromise is a political method. And it's time for political parties to face up to their responsibilities, to allow France to move forward. She said that now was not the time for personal political ambitions. Any personal political ambitions, well, they can re-emerge, she said, at the next elections. Compromise, that is not something that French politicians in the lower house of parliament, the National Assembly, have an awful lot of experience at doing.
Yeah, given these past few weeks and months, there's been a lot of political tension, hasn't there been, Claire? So are there still concerns about how long Bayrou's government can last?
Certainly. Well, François Bayrou saying, we understand in the cabinet meeting this morning, that when it comes to overcoming political instability, there is a way, and he believes that that way is not actually as hard as many people believe it to be. Of course, his first big job will be getting a budget through Parliament. We know that he wants to reduce the state deficit. It's at around 6% at the moment. Sophie Primas, the new government spokeswoman, would not say exactly by how much, but we're looking at around a 1% reduction, so at around 5%. But how do you do that? Do you tax more? Do you make cuts to public services? What do you cut? Who do you tax? And all of this, of course, any proposed budget will need to get through Parliament. And that is where Michel Barnier failed. He drew up a budget, reached out to the far right, made some concessions to Marine Le Pen. But in the end, Marine Le Pen of the far right and the left clubbed together in a rather historic move. It's rare for the far right and the left to club together, but they clubbed together to vote Michel Barnier out of office in a no-confidence vote. And that's certainly a vulnerability for François Bayrou looking forward. Getting that budget through Parliament, we don't yet have a date as to when the French Prime Minister will present that budget in Parliament. His next challenge is his first speech in Parliament, which will be in mid-January.
All right, Claire, thank you very much. Claire Paccalin reporting from the Élysée.